Hi everyone, welcome to Gender and Pop Culture. I'm going to basically go over the syllabus here in this video. So the topic of the class is about people who have been underrepresented or misrepresented in popular culture, movies, television, books, music, and so forth. Looking at some of the history of that underrepresentation and misrepresentation, but more importantly for me, looking at the attempts in the past decade or so to really fix that, to include more voices in media, to have a much more diverse set of characters, to tell stories that historically haven't been told, to try and correct misrepresentations of the past. And so we're going to look at the successes in that, the challenges there have been, new problems that have arisen, some of the difficult debates around that, and basically watch some movies and think about what they mean in terms of social justice and representation. The only required text for this class is you do need access to a Netflix account. Everything else will be posted here on Blackboard. There's going to be a lot of YouTube videos. The content for the class does include frank discussions of things that can be very emotionally challenging, can be potentially triggering to some people. That includes sexism, racism, ableism, all different kinds of discrimination, classism. It includes potentially sexual violence and other forms of violence against marginalized people. So be aware of that. I'm not going to be doing precise trigger warnings for every piece of material in the class, and lots of them do contain things that are worth knowing about. I recommend you look at the information about them before you start watching, and when there's things that are particularly challenging, I will try and alert you to that. I recommend you make sure that you're in a good space, that you have space to process things, especially things that are difficult for you. I hope we can be here to support each other. And there's also a list of resources in the general info sheets that you can contact, different people on campus that can potentially help you out if you are having challenges of that nature with the material. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Jamie. I am a political science and gender studies major. I teach the intro class here. Many of you have probably taken that with me. I am queer and I'm genderqueer. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. And I love media. I've taught classes similar to this for several years now at different universities. This is the first time I'm teaching it at ISU, and I'm excited about that. And yeah, I'm fascinated by media, I'm fascinated by the way this works, and I am still learning. This is all still evolving, and I'm learning new things every time I teach this class, and I'm excited to be doing so. I really dislike being called like professor or even worse or something. Please just call me Jamie, which is my name. That's all. That's me. We are in the middle of the ongoing collapse of the United States of America, as I'm sure you've all noticed. Since this is an online class, that probably will not affect us all that much. But obviously, if you are having trouble meeting deadlines, everyone at ISU, I hope, is going to be very understanding. We're going to do our best to work around that. So please don't hesitate if you're having challenges to get in touch, and we'll see what we can do to help. So let's talk about the graded assignments in this class. I do use points grading, so that means everything builds on top of each other, so you get points. There's a total of 1,050 points, and you can see in the general info sheet how those points break down for different grades. For everything that's due in the class, there will be an assignment info sheet that will tell you, hopefully, everything you need to know about it. So go and look there whenever you have an assignment coming up, so you can know what you're supposed to be doing, but I'm going to go over them briefly here. First, we're going to be doing material responses. If you've taken 200 with me, these are similar, a little longer, some more questions, but basically the same. You're going to be doing 2 of those per week. You're going to be doing a total of 20 of them. They're worth 15 points each. That's 300 points total. There will be 24 opportunities, so you'll be able to drop or skip 4 of them, and those will be due Wednesdays at 8 p.m. each week. We're also going to have discussions. We're going to have the opportunity to have Zoom discussions. One's going to be 3 p.m. on Thursday, another at 11 a.m. on Friday. I'm also going to hopefully have a third discussion if we need it. And so if you can't make one of those 2 times, please do contact me with the times that you can make, and I'll try and figure out a way that we can find a time that will work for everybody. The times you can make on Thursday or Friday, because the discussions are due on Wednesday, because the material responses are due on Wednesday, we need those before we can start the discussion, so it's going to have to be Thursday or Friday, but which time you can make them. And if you can't make those discussions or don't want to, you can submit a synthesis video Fridays at 8 p.m. to kind of talk about what you've done in the week. I will strongly recommend that you come to the discussions if you can. In the past with online classes, my experience has been that students that come to discussions get far more out of the class than students that don't. Interaction on forums, replying to people and so forth just isn't a great way to have discussion. It's a lot easier to do it synchronously when we're, in a Zoom call or whatever together. So I recommend you make those if you can, but if you can't, there will be another option for those points. I'm going to ask that you try and do the same thing every week. That's not a requirement. If some week you can't make one, you can come to one of the others. But it is nice if, the same people roughly come to the same time so we can, build up discussions and so forth. So, yeah. There's some larger assignments in the class. The first one, and my favorite one, is the selected media assignment. What you're going to be doing for that is picking a piece of media, probably a film that you like, that I haven't done for the class, and introducing it to the rest of us. We'll watch it, we'll talk about it, you'll find some other materials to go along with it, some questions that you want to ask. So it's basically an opportunity to share something that you think is great or interesting, or that you want to know more about, or that you're excited about, with everybody, and for us all to participate. And apart from anything, this is an opportunity for me to learn about new media, which I'm always excited by. You're also going to do 2 pitches. These are basically you coming up with ideas for existing shows or new shows, and we'll talk more about what you need to do for that. But the idea of these assignments is to give you a sense of what it's like from the other side, what it's like to think about what kind of representation might be in a show or might be in a movie, what kinds of questions people need to consider when they're putting these together. Those, I think, are fun assignments. They're challenging. They're often something that people haven't done before, but students typically get a lot out of them. And then there'll just be a final synthesis, which is basically a video where you answer some questions about your experience of the course overall. That's going to be your final. This is an online class. Online classes are hard. For a start, there are a lot of material, and this one in particular takes kind of a lot of time. The reason for that is that we're watching movies. We'll be watching 1 or 2 movies every week, more often 2, and that's a chunk of time, plus there's the assignments and so forth. And it's easy to, get behind. It's easy to not schedule enough time for it. Because you don't have class time, that's kind of replaced with effectively more what would normally be homework, right? So it's important to stay on top of that. I hope that a lot of that work for this class is going to be relatively easy and great fun, because a lot of it's going to be watching movies or watching videos of people talking about movies. I hope that that's something that's not too much of a burden on your time, because that can often be, combined with other things. You can, do housework or whatever while the movie's on. But it does require you to stay on top of it, and you need to be there for the discussions, because we'll keep moving along. I highly recommend that you schedule time into your week for those things. Schedule a couple of hours here, a couple of hours there when you'll sit down and work on this class, so you're not just randomly finding time for it in between things, but really dedicate time for it. Make sure you're checking in regularly. Late work is accepted. It loses 10% max grade per day it's late, and it can be turned in basically up to a week late. And I will grade it. I also grant extensions pretty much always. My requirement for extensions is you have to include with an extension request two things. The first one is the date you want an extension until. I don't grant open-ended extensions, so you might say, I'll be able to do this by next Friday or whatever. And then your plan for completing it by that time. So the idea here is to, set you up to succeed with that extension. That said, some of the things for this class, particularly the selective media and some of the discussion posts, it really helps the other people in the class if those are in on time, and we're often, building off of each other's work. So I do encourage you to try and get things in if you can. And obviously, if you're having trouble, get in touch. And then finally, on attendance, I'm going to require everyone to do something every week. Hopefully that'll be easy for everyone, because there's assignments due every week and so forth. But, if I don't see someone on Blackboard during a week, if you didn't turn something in or write a discussion post or come to a Zoom or whatever it is, I'm going to consider that a miss attendance for that week. So make sure you're checking in. In particular, at the start of each week, there'll be that weekly summary. You can see the one for this week. In fact, you probably are, because that's where this video is posted. So make sure you check on those. Please be excellent to each other. Let's talk some about discussions. So there are not correct answers to these questions. These are genuinely difficult questions that incredibly smart people have not formed conclusions on, that people have strong feelings about, that people approach from different perspectives and that are important to them. And so we need to be able to discuss these in an open way, accepting the possibility that not only that we might not be right, but there isn't a single right answer. I certainly don't know how I feel about all of these questions, and I hope that will be revealed as we go along. So I encourage you to come to discussion with that attitude. This is a striving, right? Social justice isn't something that we just achieve and we're done. It's something that is a continuous process, and that process requires thinking carefully and being open to new ideas and considering different perspectives and so forth. I do not expect you to know anything coming into this class, and if you do not know something, if you are ignorant about something, if you have questions that are unanswered, if there's things you've heard that you just don't understand, you are in the right place for it. This is a university. What we do here is try and learn things that we don't know. Some of you will be coming in with a lot of knowledge on some topics, maybe many topics. We do here. Some people will be coming in fresh. There's no prereq for this class. We're going to spend the first couple of weeks doing a crash course basically on a lot of the concepts you need to know. So hopefully that'll get people up to speed. But please do ask questions. Please, don't think that I expect you to know all the terminology about LGBTQ or what, different questions are around gender, what those mean, what people have talked about them. I certainly don't expect you to know lots of, media terms and how films are made and what different camera angles are and stuff like that. So please do feel free and open to ask those questions, to not have that knowledge. And for folks that do have that knowledge, please do share that, and please do, bring that expertise to the class, but also please be thoughtful that not everyone in the class is at the same journey in every direction of learning that all of us are, right? So, please make this a welcoming space where people can not know things and feel open to not know things. The topics we're going to discuss here are personal for people. For the types of marginalization, of underrepresentation, misrepresentation we're going to talk about, there will be people in this class who are members of those communities that have been hurt in that way historically and are still being hurt. For the different experiences that we'll talk about, there will be people in this class who have had those experiences. It can be easy, we have these stereotypes of college students, right, of where they are in life and what experiences that they've had. It can be easy to assume that everyone in college is like that. That's not the case at all. There is a really diverse range of people in college, and many of them have had different experiences. So please be thoughtful about that. When you're talking about groups of people, talk about them as if you're talking to their face, because you often are. And don't make assumptions about whole groups. Don't act like it is something that's completely strange to have this experience or be part of it, because it's not, and because there will be people here who have had those experiences. Also, one more thing, don't cheat. There's not a lot of opportunities to cheat in this class, so it's not going to be a big problem. The biggest thing is cite your sources. If you are talking about something that's assigned material for this class, so we're going to watch Into the Spider-Verse, if you are talking about that, then you don't have to do a complex citation for it, because it's the film we've assigned, so we know about it. But if you're pulling anything from outside of the class, any other material, you need to cite that. Feel free to do that. Please do include that in your discussion posts if you want to, but you need to cite it. That's the biggest thing. Okay, I'm not going to go through all the resources, but you will find under general info sheets there are a lot of available resources for you. There's a section there specifically about resources that ISU has made available for some of the challenges around COVID-19. There's also some resources for online classes and for technology and so forth listed there. You are entitled to these resources. You have paid for these resources. They're there to help you. There are a lot of people on campuses. It's an amazing thing about universities. There's a lot of people on campuses that are very skilled and experienced and want to help students with things that are difficult for them. So please do use those resources if you need them. You are who they are for. So take a look through there, and yeah, please do avail yourself.